Hello, I'm Kaiser and welcome to Moose Reads. Before I get started, I want to say that the opinions that I give here are my own opinions. They are extremely subjective. If I dislike a book, it is not a reflection on the author and it is not a reflection on people who do like it. Different people have different tastes, and that's okay. Today, I will be reviewing Nemesis by S.D. Perry. This is the 5th book in the Resident Evil series. It is a sci-fi horror, the description says. Zombies, mutant animals, bioengineered weapons, and surgically enhanced monsters, secret labs, and widespread conspiracies. It seemed impossible, but Jill Valentine and her teammates among the stars had seen it all firsthand when the Umbrella Corporation turned Raccoon City into a staging ground for the most insidious genetic experiments ever conceived. After all she's been through, Valentine is ready to leave that remote mountain community forever. But Umbrella isn't finished with Raccoon City. Too much evidence of their unethical and immoral research still exists. It must be recovered or destroyed, and quickly, before it can be traced back to Umbrella. And with William Birkin's mutagenic virus already spreading through the city like wildfire, drastic measures are needed. Under cover of night, mercenary teams have entered the city along with something else, Umbrella's failsafe, an evolved version of its Tyrant-class killing machines. A lethal creature codenamed Nemesis. Now Nemesis is on the hunt, and Jill Valentine is about to become prey. 3 stars. This book is an adaptation of Resident Evil 3, which is also subtitled Nemesis. It's also the point where I started losing steam on reading these books, which is probably mostly due to my wanting to read something else rather badly, but I think is also partly due to an overall lower quality. I'm not terribly familiar with Resident Evil 3. I think I watched my other brother play it, but I can't say for sure. I definitely watched a playthrough sometime last year, but the details are still fuzzy. So you'll have to take it with a grain of salt when I say it felt like there was a lot missing. Once again, Perry skips most of the puzzles, but this game, like with 2, has enough story for it to work without them. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is the first game where you play a single campaign and switch between the 2 characters as the story requires. This book takes place concurrently with City of the Dead, which is a little jarring, since we just had an entire book between them. This is also the point where Perry just threw up her hands and admitted there was no fixing the continuity, so please just go with it. There's literally a paragraph at the beginning of the book that more or less says that. Jill is one of 2 STARS members unfortunate enough to still be in Raccoon City when it goes zombie. The other one being Brad Vickers, who flew the helicopter at the beginning and end of the Umbrella conspiracy but was otherwise not involved. It's bad enough that Jill has to deal with zombies again, on a much bigger scale, but this time Umbrella's cooked up something extra for her in the form of a new tyrant that's been specially designed to seek out and destroy the members of STARS. Eventually she'll be joined by Carlos, a member of the UBC, an umbrella unit that is supposedly meant to deal with biohazard outbreaks, but sadly for him is really just another way to test the combat effectiveness of their bioweapons. He and the rest of the UBCS are dropped somewhere in the city without any warning of what they'll be dealing with, and as one would expect, they fare pretty badly. But first, we get another visit from Trent. This is the book where Trent goes from mildly irritating moron to actively ridiculous. He's not just mysterious anymore, he's damn near omniscient. Carlos is Trent's errand boy this time around. There's no real reason for Trent to single Carlos out. The closest excuse I can come up with being that Carlos kind of implies he's the only one in the UBCS that isn't a criminal, so maybe he's trustworthy. That's pretty shit reasoning, but it's still more than we actually get in the book. Once again, Trent fails to tell Carlos anything even remotely useful, instead telling him that if he can make it to a diner by a certain time, he might be able to help him. I don't think he even gives him any further goal at this point, which really makes Trent's involvement feel ham-fisted. Aside from complaining about Trent, there's not a lot I can really say about this one. Like I said, it felt like there was a fair amount missing, but without watching the game again, which I'm not willing to do right now, I can't actually point to anything specific aside from feeling fairly certain that there were a lot more puzzles. the puzzles we do get are mostly centered around the clock tower. Honestly, maybe there just weren't a lot of puzzles in the game prior to that. I certainly don't know. Even so, the puzzles that were included once again felt like they were mostly glanced over. Jill and Carlos do spend a lot of time with one involving weighted balls, but rather than actually solving it, they just move the balls around until it works somehow. I'm not about to say the puzzles in these games are all that interesting. Most of them just require you to find the right item to act as a key. But I feel like you either have to lean into this aspect or skip it entirely. Perry continually chooses a middle ground where the puzzles are there, but the solutions don't matter, and it frustrates me. There's a little bit more I do want to talk about, but it involves spoilers. If you don't like spoilers, now is the time to pause or close the video. For everyone else, let's talk details. When I said Trent is near omniscient, it's because once Carlos manages to get to the diner, Trent calls him on what seems to be the only working phone in the city, tells him he needs to pick up one of the 2 gems required to access the tram, and then vaguely implies that the other gem will come to him. He's referring to Jill, who has retrieved the other gem from the police station, where she heard Carlos over the radio and decided to seek him out. How Trent knows Jill's movements in real time is a complete mystery. Umbrella has people surveilling the events in the city, but they check in very infrequently, and none of them seem to be in a position to report on Jill. On top of that, even accepting that Trent does know Jill has the other gem, and that she's for sure going to find Carlos, there's no reason to assume that they'll work together. Carlos works for Umbrella, and Jill has pretty good reasons not to trust anyone in that line of work. So, once again, Trent's plan requires a lot of luck to even start to work. I don't remember what it is he wants Carlos to do either. I'm pretty sure he gave him a new task over the phone, but I can't say with confidence what it was. I think maybe he wanted him to go to the hospital and retrieve a cure, but I could be wrong. Whatever it is, it's something that Carlos does in the game anyway, it just shifts his reason for doing it ever so slightly. There's another character in this book named Nikolai who knows about the people Umbrella has placed in Raccoon to report things, and has decided to steal all of their data in order to blackmail the corporation. He's something of a secondary antagonist, but for a while he pretends to be friendly with Jill and Carlos and another UBCS member named Mikhail, who also joins them for a while. The 4 of them are trying to get the tram running so they can escape the city, so they split up to look for some missing components. While Jill and Carlos are looking for some cables, they come across a dead guy with a diary and find out that Nikolai is evil. Then we get our stupid stick moment, because they openly discuss what they're going to do about Nikolai as they approach the tram station, as if there's no chance he could overhear them. This is one of those moments that I don't know if it's Perry's fault or the game's. Either way, whoever wrote it did a bad job. People make dumb decisions, sure, but that's just too stupid, especially considering these are supposed to be extremely competent people. Ultimately, the book was fine. It's not something I would really recommend, but it's not the worst way to spend your time. That's all I have to say about Nemesis. If you like this video, I hope you'll watch more in the future. Thanks for watching this one. Bye!